Welcome back to Outside Views, and yes, bro, we need to talk. And today we have to talk a little bit about Brexit again and about the cost for UK firms just last year and just for exporting food to the UK, because that's quite a bill. Because new government figures reveal that UK firms spent up to £65 million last year just on licenses to export food and agricultural products to the EU. So everybody said everything will get cheaper and everything will get easier because of Brexit. And here we have the easier part. I mean, in this case, it's not about cost of living for people in the UK, but it's about prices for UK food in the EU in the end, because those £65 million will be added to the prices of the products on the shelves. That's, for example, there is a big convenience store here in my hometown. Before Brexit, and because we had a lot of British soldiers here in the past and many of them stayed here, they had a very large aisle just full with stuff from the US and the UK. And most of the UK stuff is gone now because of the higher costs after Brexit. The US stuff, the little bit they had, was expensive anyway. But everything that came from the UK is much more expensive. And Cadbury's and stuff like this is now being produced in Hamburg and not imported anymore. And of course, that's just a number I wanted to tell you, because that came in from the government recently about last year, and that's just 1 year. It's not the whole cost since Brexit, it's just 1 year. And at the same time, we have all the bureaucratic hurdles that you have heard about on my channel for a lot of times. And the bureaucracy behind these £65 million is that the cost came from issuing those licenses for exporting the stuff to the EU, and that needed over 328,000 licenses, and each license cost up to £200 each. And the DEFRA, that's the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, stated that these costs have been really burdensome for smaller businesses. You know, those famous SMEs, the small and medium-sized enterprises, which usually are the backbone of every modern economy nowadays. They are suffering the most from that. And we talked about that before. But here you have some hard numbers once again that are hitting those companies once again. And that is because those smaller firms, they lack the capacity to handle all these administrative demands, which has put them really also in a competitive disadvantage to larger companies. So larger companies will be able to handle all this more easily. They can deal with that. But the smaller companies that are still the backbone of your society, they are suffering. And we talked about that even a lot of them have stopped exporting to the EU or importing from the EU and stopped doing business at all in this area because they couldn't handle it. And so much about the global Britain, the golden sunny lands that come after Brexit. And even the big companies have something to say about this, because British supermarkets and food producers, including Sainsbury's and Marks and Spencer, have also complained that this current arrangement has created unnecessary red tape. And it is unnecessary red tape because if the UK wouldn't have left the EU, and there is not really any big advantage that is showing nowadays that is brought, it was unnecessary. And the majority of people in Britain now anyway regrets Brexit. But you cannot just reverse that even if they wanted to. So you know about that. But what is the current government doing about this? Except reversing Brexit, which is not possible at the moment. Well, they made a new promise. And Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds has pledged to eliminate these costs through a new agreement with the EU. You know that they are talking with the EU, and this new deal is part of an agreement Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced in May, which aims to improve trade without rejoining the EU customs union or single market. But that has limits. we are dealing here from the EU with Japan, with Canada, many other countries. But it's not like trading within the EU customs union or the single market. There is limits to free trade agreements. And even if they can remove a few of those obstacles, they never will remove all of them. And Thomas Simmons is now more confidently making a political argument for the closer alignment with the EU to remove trade barriers. But once again, will not remove them all. But he argues the government is putting in the hard yards, not resting on empty slogans. Well, empty slogans is used by populists a lot, and were used a lot about Brexit in the Leave campaign. But I do not see the big progress here yet, because they think that a new agricultural deal will mean fewer checks on imports from the EU and an end to the current export licensing scheme from the UK. So in Labour's sense, that's sovereignty in the national interest to decide to do that. But I'm not seeing that coming at the moment, because they are discussing, but I haven't seen any real movement here yet. And at the same time, of course, they're attacking Nigel Farage. He was the figurehead of Brexit. And also Thomas Simmons is directly attacking Nigel Farage, arguing that the Reform UK leader wants Britain to fail because he wants to even have a harder Brexit than they already have, and that he would divide communities and stoke anger. And this, his overall plans for the economy would at least add another cost of £9 billion to the list. But there's always the point, that I also make videos about Nigel Farage. We'll do that again this week. But when you're talking about what you're planning to do, how you will deal with what was damaged, could you stick to telling us what your plans are instead of attacking others again? Yeah, you have to deal with Farage. He is a big threat to the Labour Party at the moment because of the polls. He would be next Prime Minister if there was a snap election, which didn't come. We'll talk about Angela Rayner this week as well. But the only point why I see that you could mention him, but then you also have to mention Kemi Badenoch, because both of them have pledged to rip up the New Deal if it comes with the EU once they get into power again. Although on the side of Kemi Badenoch, it's fun to hear her say, when we come to power, at the moment it will be in the end a Labour or a Reform government if there were any elections in the near future. So, yeah, but that's the only point. Because both said it's a Brexit betrayal to make a deal with the EU and a surrender to Brussels. We know all this old BS. Everyone with at least 2 brain cells must have seen that Brexit was a failure. And not because they didn't give us the Brexit we wanted, all this shit. Because Brexit never could have brought the promised advantages that they always promised. So this is just a choice of ideologies now. Do you want Labour's approach, trying to repair some of the damages? If they're telling you they can repair all of the damages without rejoining, tell them they're liars as well. Or do you want this ideology clinching from the other side that are still celebrating Brexit, which is proven as something bad for the UK? So you have to see what really happened to the country, happened to the wallet of everyone in the country. And a negotiation on a Brexit deal to ease some burdens now would be something that would help the ordinary Britons as well, cost-wise. But it will not repair Brexit. So if anybody from the government tells you this will repair Brexit, no, it won't. And it won't take away all the burdens. It might soften the blow a bit, and the blow everybody has seen. But it's not being a reversal of Brexit. So we have to stick to the facts on all sides. And what the Eurosceptics are bringing out with their hardline narratives now, that's just complete nonsense, because Brexit is there. Brexit has proven to be damaging to the UK economy. And if you want that, then you want that knowing what happens. But as I said, most Britons in the polls nowadays regret Brexit, but there is no quick rejoin. I know Rejoin is gaining members, but I'm a bit angry about them as well. I'm commenting from time to time on X on their posts. I was angry about the Leave campaign for their lies and for gaslighting the public what would happen after Brexit. But I will also not take it from Rejoin to tell the people that it would be easier than it really would be. I made videos about how complicated rejoining would be and everything. Don't lie to the people. Tell them the truth. Tell them whatever step is taken, what that step would mean. And don't gaslight the people. So I will keep an eye on Rejoin as well, because I've already seen that stuff and I'm not happy about it. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.